think it's time we had the talk. We're all adults and we need to talk sexual suggestibility. If you haven't seen my video about hypnotic suggestibility, I strongly advise you pause this video, go and watch the hypnotic suggestibility video first, and come back here when you're done. Right, so sexual suggestibility refers to how we relate to our partners sexually. But it's more than that. It impacts on our relationships, especially with our significant others, and as you're probably aware, the state of your relationship has a big impact on other aspects of your life. As with any hypnosis research, theory, concept, or opinion, it's important to take a critical view. This isn't an exact science, it has its flaws, but that doesn't mean there aren't things of value. Sexual suggestibility is a concept developed by John Kappers in the Professional Hypnotism Manual. Some might argue, and by some I mean I might argue, that Mr. Kappers lost the plot a little when he got to the sexual suggestibility chapter. So take whatever lessons you can from this experience, but keep a critical mind. For example, I find it helpful to understand that physical sexuals are spooners who like to show their partner affection post-sex. And emotional sexuals are those of us, people who are thinking, get the hell away from me, we're done, Daredevil Season 2 is on Netflix. That is helpful information. I found it slightly less helpful when Kappers got to the part about physical sexual women basically being sex-obsessed single white female types who don't care about their careers and just want to boink 70 times a day. The bit where he claims emotional sexual males all have mistresses and only tell their wife they hate Julie from the bowling club to cover for the fact that he's secretly banging Julie every Tuesday and Friday, again, not so helpful. But if we can take away that emotional sexuals aren't really cold-hearted monsters rejecting their partners post-sex and make the physical sexuals understand that they are still loved and it's just not that everybody wants to be touched all the time, then that can only be a good thing. So, as with physical and emotional suggestibility, it's unlikely that you're a 100% physical sexual or 100% emotional sexual. So when you're saying that you got a score of 70% emotional, but you do X, Y, and Z that tend to be physical characteristics, that's completely expected. The other thing to keep in mind is that, once again, no sexuality is better than the other, and we're not all the same. Sarah, John, and Alex may all be 70% physical sexual, but the answers they gave that resulted in the 70% score may have been different. Now, unlike physical and emotional suggestibility, your sexual suggestibility can and does change with different partners and at different stages in your life. And it's pretty easy to see this in action. If you ever think back to a previous relationship and feel like you were a completely different person in that relationship, you probably kind of were. So moving on to the traits of physical and emotional sexuals. Starting with physical sexual women. Physical sexual women feel emotions but place their physical body in front to protect their emotions. They require a great deal of physical attention and a lot of sex. When a physical sexual woman is rejected in some way, she will become more sexual. Physical sexual women tend to try to be the stereotype of the perfect partner. They embody femininity, and physical appearance is important to them. They can be very concerned about how others see them. That being said, physical sexual women are body confident women. They want to please their partner, and if criticized, they are hurt deeply. Physical sexual women tend to be very comfortable in the wife and mother role. On the extreme end of the spectrum, physical sexual women can be considered possessive and jealous. If a physical sexual woman is with a partner who doesn't show her affection or demonstrate attention and love, the physical sexual woman will try harder to win that attention. Physical sexual women often feel that they put more into a relationship than their partner, and they often consider other women a threat. As for the men, physical sexual men present as macho types. They tend to be more concerned about their body and appearance than their intellectual attributes, and they are very attentive. They're the guys that open doors, help you with your coat, pull your chair out, and show affection in public. On the extreme end of the spectrum, they too can be jealous and possessive. The physical sexual man sees himself as the dominant partner, but if rejected sexually, his dominance wanes and he feels rejection deeply. Physical sexual men like lots and lots of sex, and they think about it a lot. Just take a moment to imagine a high-scoring physical sexual man and a high-scoring physical sexual woman in a relationship. I'm thinking there's a lot of fights and a lot of makeup sex. The physical sexual male doesn't just like a lot of sex, he likes to make it last, unlike the emotional sexual male who's pretty keen to get it on and get it over with. Now, the interesting thing about physical sexual men is that although they like to consider themselves dominant, they often end up being dominated by emotionally sexual partners because the emotional sexual partner doesn't need that much sex and frankly isn't concerned about his desire to stay in bed for hours. Now, I'm not sure how anyone studies this, but according to Kappas, physical sexual men like to be on top and they like to express themselves verbally. Oh, and apparently physical sexual men and women are less likely to cheat than emotionals, as long as they're getting enough sex. They're also more likely to want to be married and to have children, and they can take a really long time to get over a breakup. Now, emotionally sexual women. Emotionally sexual women tend to feel their emotions more deeply than they express them. They want to be an equal partner in a relationship, and career is important to them. They have female friends, and like the emotional sexual male, they often enjoy participating in sports, whereas physical sexuals tend to be spectators. Emotional sexual women like sex, they just don't need as much of it. They like it more in the early stages of a relationship, and then the desire tends to wane. Emotional sexual women are not turned on by domination and are never having makeup sex. For the emotional sexual woman, foreplay starts in the mind, and there is a good chance it's not her current partner that's on her mind. Also, spontaneous sex is best. Few things will turn an emotional sexual woman off as much as pre-planned or scheduled sex. As for the emotional sexual male, he isn't preoccupied with sex and is much less likely to be dominated by a partner. Like emotionally sexual women, career is important. Emotional sexual men don't want to have to dish out compliments all the time and figure as long as they're not complaining, everything should be fine. This isn't the guy who gives any thought to opening doors. Emotional sexual men can be judgmental of others, but not of themselves. They tend to be concerned about the spending habits of their partner, but are completely comfortable spending on themselves. As for sex, the emotional sexual man doesn't need as much sex as the physical sexual. If you want to please an emotional sexual male, get on top and don't talk. They don't like distractions. Now, according to Kappas, emotionally sexual men are unfaithful men, but if you take everything Kappas says literally, you would think everyone is a mess. Emotional sexual men present as more physical in the honeymoon phase of a relationship and gradually become more emotional and distant. They may lose interest, but they would prefer their partner to pull the plug on the relationship than do it themselves. So overall, I think we can all agree that it is totally okay to have been that person taking a knife to the tires of an ex-lover's car, because that's just how physical sexuals behave sometimes. And we can also agree that post-sex smothering is never okay, and those psycho-physical sexuals should all be sent to an island where they can smother each other to death in a jealous orgy-like rage. If you're keen to take the Sexual Suggestibility Test and you're a subscriber of AmazingSleepHypnosis.com, the test is in your inbox right now. If you're not a subscriber, go to AmazingSleepHypnosis.com, subscribe, and I will email you the test right away. The question of the day is not what is your sexual suggestibility score, although please feel free to share that in the comments below because I love reading about that stuff. The question of the day is, what do you think of the traits of the physical and emotional sexuals? So do you find in your experience that has been quite accurate or not? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading and responding to your comments. It seriously makes my day. Your comments are totally my oxygen. So comment away and I will see you in the next video. Bye.